Max Fisch is a great friend who joins the show, and as we talk about in the interview, somebody I've always looked to and actually gained a lot of insight as far as managing virtual assistant in your business and having them do admin work, lead generation, all that type of stuff. So Max is going to tell you what he's been have going on with his real estate business, with the pandemic, everything going on with his business in Philly, and then also his new company that he just launched all around managing and training VAs for you, callingreps.com. If you're interested, definitely check the show notes. Brent Daniels, big fan or big friend of the podcast here in the InvestorFuse brand, just started using Max and callingreps.com. So I'm excited to share the service and for you guys to learn a little bit more about Max. A warm spring day here in the mid-Atlantic, Philly or Cape May, New Jersey, I should say, if you're there now, in Baltimore. Definitely a nice spring day here, and joined by very good friend Max Fisch. We wanted to do this interview in person, and he's actually given me some great advice and help on building out a studio here. But just with everything going on with the quarantine right now, we're doing at least this first interview or piece of content for you guys to add immense value for you over Zoom here. So Max, thanks for coming on, dude. How are you doing?
Doing great, man. I appreciate you having me.
Dude, a pleasure and privilege. Glad we've been talking about this for a while, so I'm glad that it came to be. I want to give a little context to people that are listening to this right now, just to dive right in. And if you want to talk a little bit about yourself as far as an introduction, and then just tell me everything you're doing right now across businesses.
Sure. So, the quick CV or resume is got started in the business in 2002. I was actually in the mortgage business as an originator, and I found a property locally in New Jersey to purchase. Obviously, doing mortgages, I understood, at least I thought I understood the values, and saw a property for sale. It was for sale from a local builder, and I recognized it was a good value. Needed some work, fixed it up. I still remember the day too. It's funny. I made $30,881. And when you're in your early 20s, that's an incredible amount of money. So I still remember driving to the bank, with the check, thinking, "Oh my God, this is all the money in the world." So that was an interesting day. But as I said, started 2003, mortgage originator, did a rehab, follow through to 2008, 2009, right about the time that things went south. Got involved in commercial finance, was doing commercial loans, workouts, things like that. My timing was impeccable. I had just bought another rehab opportunity. And long story short, as we all know, the market crashed, and went back to school, kind of bounced back and forth with real estate, and started full-time in the Philadelphia market in, I want to say like 2015, something like that, around there. And I've been doing rehabs, wholesaling, and I guess wholetailing, you would call it, full-time in the Philadelphia market since then up until today. Obviously, given the current situation, things are more difficult than normal. But yeah, that's basically the kind of down and dirty, version. But yeah, active wholesale, rehab, wholesale, and then and then I have a side business providing virtual assistance for primarily for cold calling, but really any administrative tasks. And I keep my operations pretty lean, but yeah, that's where I'm playing today.
Very cool. Tell me a little bit, just for insight, what specifically is challenging in Pennsylvania right now with the quarantine and kind of the lockdown, just from like a legal point, as far as like getting deals across the finish line? Because it seems like each state is a little bit different.
Yeah, I would agree totally. And you being in, in Baltimore, I'm sure Maryland is different as well. But yeah, I mean, just to be specific, we are in the Philadelphia market. So, I bring that up because, sometimes people think Pennsylvania, they think maybe the Rust Belt, Pittsburgh, that area. Obviously, That's a totally different market. That's, 7-8 hour drive. But anyway, in Philadelphia, it's quite interesting. So obviously a pretty large market. Geographically speaking, it's a very big city. The wholesale business, for quite some time has been pretty robust. It's been pretty active. Obviously, any major metro market, there's a lot of transactions, and Philadelphia is probably in the middle in terms of income levels, I guess, as it relates to, say, DC, New York, Baltimore. And as far as getting deals done, yeah, I mean, it's been challenging. I think the big problem specifically in Pennsylvania is that right now the real estate agents legally cannot show properties. And so we do business with quite a lot of agents. We do list properties on the MLS, both wholesale and retail, which is legal here. And not having agents be able to show the properties is obviously a problem. Mm-hmm. They're a big source of our buyer pool. We love working with agents. We're happy to pay people. So, it just kind of keeps things moving. I like to get in and out of deals quickly. So that's obviously helpful. But yeah, them not being able to show the properties is problematic. Our governor, I would say, is more conservative when it comes to, this pandemic and how he's reacting to it. Not politically speaking. I mean, just in the way that he's handling it, he was very aggressive about shutting things down and making sure that people were staying home, issuing the stay-at-home order, that kind of stuff. And so from that perspective, it's definitely much more difficult than, for example, I have friends and clients, in the Midwest and places like Arizona, Nevada, Minneapolis. And it's definitely different, right? It's much more difficult right now. Although deals are getting done, the title companies are much less interested in having people come in the office and that kind of stuff. So I would say that although not impossible, definitely much more challenging. And a lot of our bigger buyers are using larger credit facilities and different ways of finance rather than straight cash. And so we have had a few deals either fall apart or essentially be postponed because the credit lines are in question. So definitely some challenges. I don't think it's as near as bad as like New York City or something like that. But I'm not active in that market, nor do I know anybody active, in the 5 boroughs there. So I'm not sure kind of how they're faring. But if I had to guess, I would say we're more, to that side of the scale rather than, I don't know, one of these states is talking about opening up, the end of this week, early next week.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that, man. And I mean, it's just challenging owners and entrepreneurs to be more creative in their thinking and looking at different ways to pivot potentially if it ends up being a long-term thing. I'm hoping it's not. I am pretty optimistic just seeing, and I was telling my roommate last night as we were making dinner that I'm expecting kind of an exponential increase in not just states opening up, but small business opening up, just kind of things going more and more back to normal at an exponential rate, just from not random, but just stuff that I'm seeing online as far as like some doctors asking for the shutdown to be closed, some of the southern states that aren't as affected from a total case number perspective, trying to open back up like Atlanta or like Georgia, states like that in the South. So definitely optimistic, but it's a nice challenge here if you can see it in a positive way, just to work on your creative thinking and potential pivots, things like that. One thing, Max is he's an InvestorFuse lifer. Have known him for a while and seen him develop his business in Pennsylvania, mostly doing deals Philly area range, as he's been saying. One thing I applaud him for is how great he is at managing. How great he has been over the years managing the virtual assistants on his team, and even explaining to me on some times that we've talked in the past couple of years, whether it's InvestorFuse stuff or just generally touching base or at a meetup he's come down to, of like pros and cons of having a VA versus an in-person admin, as far as like reliability, not just the cost effectiveness, but just reliability. So he's always been insightful for me, someone to pick his brain on everything virtual assistants and how to utilize them in their business. So I want to not only talk about his company that he's launched, that he's getting great, amazing feedback on, that we'll definitely have info in the show notes for you guys, but also just his philosophy on VAs and utilizing them in the business has always been insightful for me the times that we've touched base over the last like 3 years or so. So I'd like to ask you, Max, I guess for like a broad stroke, in general, how beneficial virtual assistants have been across your businesses over the last few years. I know that you said you've been active in Philly since 2015, so about 5 years here. But if you kind of want to take that as a broad stroke, how have VAs been helpful for you in your business?
Yeah, that's no, that's a good question. I think well, let me just say one thing, because I was thinking about this and you kind of switched gears. So just to roll back,
Sure.
just to kind of finish out, what I was saying there. Just to be clear, I am totally bullish on this market. Having lived through 2008, 2009, and been active in the business at that time, there are significantly different characteristics here than were in place then. I think that anybody who thinks that this is going to be a total disaster and the real estate market is going to be a repeat of 2009, 2010 caught, I think that they're crazy. And I think if you bet against this market at this juncture, I think you're going to get hurt. I think that there's a lot of pent up demand. The people, obviously you can't watch the news, otherwise you'd want to jump out a window. But I think if you're speaking to people, I think that what you'll find is that most people are very, not nervous, but anxious. There's a lot of pent up demand. I think we're going to come out of this thing ripping and roaring, and I think you're going to see one of the quickest rebounds, if you want to call it that, one of the quickest rebounds to an ultra bull market. So I just want to be clear, like I kind of told you about Pennsylvania and where Pennsylvania is at, but generally speaking, I mean, I'm very bullish, and I don't think things are going to be near as bad as some people are making them out to be. So anyway, with that said, yeah, look, VAs have been huge for me. I got on the virtual assistant bandwagon, pretty early on. And this is coming from a guy who had, I have a physical office in Philadelphia. I had at one point, I want to say 8, full-time W-2 employees working in a call center environment. And with some help, I managed that process. We train the people, we manage the people, the whole deal. And I saw firsthand how effective cold calling can potentially be in the real estate business. Having always been someone who's comfortable on the phone and in general liked calling, the idea of cold calling. But now with all the technology, calling, texting, voicemail drops, I mean, everything is so simplistic that, anybody with, even a low balance credit card can effectively compete with some of the biggest players in the space. And I'm by no means a big player. Don't get me wrong. I mean, my business is purposefully lean and small. I do enough deals to keep myself, my team, my acquisitions guy happy. But I purposely am more interested in kind of that life balance and being able to, spend the weekends or a good portion of the week, maybe the way I want versus, just, making, being the biggest guy in town, making all the money and having, just no free time. But yeah, the VAs have always been huge. Again, I got on that, bandwagon early on. That basically morphed into what it is today. And so it's gotten to the point where roughly about a year ago, I actually launched a new company and started putting my virtual assistants out third party, primarily as calling agents, because I saw a need. And this is true across any industry. The absolute hardest part of any salesperson's day is cold calling. It's real easy to call your clients that you just sold who are happy as can be and ask them how things are going. There's no pressure there. There's no difficulty there. But calling someone with whom you don't have a relationship, to ask them to do something that they weren't planning on doing is not easy. And I think most people, quite frankly, they fear it. And I think that's partly human nature, but I also think that people, smarter people than I, value their time such that something like cold calling doesn't make sense. So even if you like it, it's just not something that makes sense.
The return on time, it doesn't calculate.
Yeah, so you got to outsource it, and you can do everything from buying leads. That's a form of outsourcing the cold calling. You can hire some of these companies who will just dial your list for I don't know, 10 hours for X dollars. Or you can hire your own virtual assistant, and you can train and manage that person. And those are kind of the two bookends. We fall in the middle, where we're offering a fully managed solution. And so what we do is we fully vet the VAs, right? FBI grade background check, medical clearance, disc profile, the whole kit and caboodle. We bring them on board. We do a 2-week training program. We actually put them through Brent Daniels' TTP program. So shout out to Brent. I mean, that's a phenomenal, phenomenal program for anybody who wants to learn about cold calling for themselves, or just for their own, self-improvement. Brent's TTP program stands for Talk to People. It's phenomenal. It really is. And he doesn't pay me. That's not a plug for him because I'm an affiliate. I'm in the program. I love it. Brent's a great guy. So we put them through his program, and then we handle the day-to-day management. We do ongoing training. And I actually have a full-time English tutor, believe it or not, who works with these people, because most of them are foreigners, obviously, works with them on the accents. So that's pretty cool. That's cool. And then we provide weekly reports to the client. So, what I always tell people is, I don't advocate this, but you could literally hire one of our cold calling agents and never speak to them ever. You could just focus on running the leads. I definitely think communication is good. Don't get me wrong. But my point is that we handle it, we manage it in such a way where, you could potentially do that. And so we're geared towards, that guy who wants to run his own leads, but understands that, you call, you set an appointment, you go run the appointment. Now you're off the phone, but now you need more appointments, but you can't because you're at an appointment, and, you end up with this kind of herky-jerky process where with us, you're going to have those consistent, we average about 2 leads a day. So you're going to have those consistent 2 leads a day. So I would say the one-man band, or maybe somebody who's got a small shop, somebody like me, one acquisitions manager, a dispositions manager, but their time is focused elsewhere. So a good portion of my time, for example, is focused on managing the rehabs. For me, it would be impossible to do my own calls, and so obviously that works for us. And then the last thing I would say is, I think that because I'm in the business, I understand firsthand the problems that, real estate professionals face. And so I can very easily kind of, I guess not manage the team, but direct the team in a way that truly benefits real estate professionals. I have 5 or 6 people that manage the VAs for me. I don't actually do that. I'm making more high level decisions in that business. And then working with, new clients in terms of onboarding and stuff like that. But yeah, listen, I mean, just to kind of come full circle, I would say, virtual professionals, by far, are the most important aspect of my business, as it relates to marketing. You have to be marketing, but yeah, I mean, look, nowadays, they're pushing for $15 an hour. They're doing all this stuff. The cost of benefits and all that is so high that it's very difficult to find good administrative professionals or calling agents or anybody that's in that kind of space for a reasonable rate. And the sad reality is, I'd love to hire people and pay them, $30, $40, $50 an hour and give them full benefits, but I can't afford that. My business doesn't allow for it. My customers don't allow my business to allow for it. So, I think unfortunately we're faced with a situation in this country where, labor is much more expensive than society will allow some of these businesses to pay. And there's a bazillion reasons why. I think that's way too complicated for today. But the point is that my business has been able to grow, thrive, and frankly, in this environment, be nimble enough to survive, be lean enough to survive because of the virtual professionals and the fact that my overhead is, I would say that 90% of my overhead is marketing or marketing related. And you can easily scale that back or fire it up. So yeah, I love the VAs. I think are great. I don't have any of the problems that I had when I had full-time employees, sadly. And I'd love to hire local people. I'd love to support the local community, hire local people. And I just, I tried it. I tried it for 2.5 years. It didn't work. So I think from that standpoint, anybody who's not taking a serious look at virtual professionals in their business, whether it's taking their entire business virtual or at least shaving off a piece, whether it's marketing or transaction coordination or whatever, I think you'd have to be crazy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I love the type of businesses similar to InvestorFuse, not to give ourselves our own plug here, but just explaining my context of why Max's company resonates with me is when companies like that form just from organic needs in your own business, because that's pretty much the whole reason we came to be as well. InvestorFuse, from back when we were wholesaling, Dan was always tweaking out CRM and making automations and putting stuff in place to help us follow up with leads in a more efficient and scalable manner, which came to be InvestorFuse a few years later. Same thing with Max and Real Estate Project Solutions, just being in his own business. And as I mentioned, just the last few years been very insightful and provides good perspective to me for someone who's not actively doing transactions. Because I'm always talking to InvestorFuse members about that. So he gives good perspective as he did just then. The one analogy that I love to use, which is a Tim Francis original, is the surgeon analogy, what their workday looks like. And this is speaking to Max's point about, if you're an owner or even an acquisitions manager, ideally, you shouldn't be the one cold calling. The surgeon analogy that Tim Francis uses is when a surgeon goes into work, most of his day is pretty much just doing surgery. He's not answering the reception phone. He's probably not answering, emails to talk to patients or schedule his own surgeries. He pretty much just gets handed a file, does X amount of surgeries for the day, gives the files to an assistant or something, and heads back to his day. So that's the type of approach. I know that I'm definitely not perfect in that, as I have multiple hats here at InvestorFuse. But I think that's someone that everybody can strive towards, just like Max saying, like he's going to be working on his rehabs and high-level relationships with people in PA and things like that. He doesn't want to be doing the cold calling. So I think everybody can kind of work towards the surgeon analogy as far as how you work your day. And I think getting an admin either in person, which may be more of a challenge right now, or somebody virtual, like Max is saying and provides with his company, is a huge beginning lever that you can do to become more of a surgeon in your own business, so to say. And VAs, Max, is such a hot topic. In the interview that's coming out tomorrow with my friend Raul Balufe down in Miami, it's funny because with VAs being such a hot button item, he started wholesaling maybe 4 or 5 years ago, roughly 2015, 2016 as well. Before he even closed his first deal, he hired a VA just because he heard it on podcasts and stuff like that. So it's just such a hot button, thing to go through. I don't know if you have any further, talking points around that, or I was kind of curious as far as just the cold calling. And I know that your VAs with reps do more than just the cold calling. They do some admin stuff as well, if you want to touch on kind of a full scope of work. But I'm curious just to hear on the lead generation side of things. And you could provide some data help as well, right?
Yeah, correct. It's funny you brought up the surgeon analogy, Carlos. I agree 100%. And that's a phenomenal analogy. Because you're right. You think of the surgeon, answering his own phone, or like scheduling his own appointments like that. That's just, it just makes me want to chuckle because it's so, it's so silly on the surface that you're like, why would you ever do that? But it's amazing how many people in their own business don't think that way, and they will answer their own phones, you run their own appointments, do their own dispositions, work their own title. And they wonder why they're only doing, a deal a month. Well, you'd go insane if you tried to do any more than that. So it's pretty interesting. And, to your point, with your buddy Raul, who hired a VA, I always think back to Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week. And that book was one of the first times that I had really started to think heavily about VAs. He had talked about, I don't know, I always think about the old website like Ask Jeeves or something, but it was something like that, that kind of name. And it was a company, and, and in the book he talks about, hiring this VA to then, like send emails to his wife or girlfriend or whoever it was, because they had gotten in an argument or something. Like, it just was hilarious. So, it's the concept is definitely has been around a long time. The concept of outsourced workforce or outsource help. I think that, for us, and you had touched on it, I didn't mention it before, but the name of the company is Real Estate Project Solutions. We recently set up a website, like a sign-up website where people can acquire callingreps.com. But it's interesting because, I think that a lot of people are under the impression that you simply go on Upwork and for, $4, $5, $6 an hour, you hire somebody, and that person is going to just magically take over your business, produce thousands and thousands of leads that nobody else has, and you're going to make millions of dollars, all while sitting on the beach, drinking margaritas and hanging out with, I don't know, 6 single women or, whatever your fantasy is. But, it's just comical because they all talk about it. All the gurus, just get a VA and it'll be great. And, hey, listen, maybe that works for some people. That definitely did not work for me. I would equate it more to, my having, again, at one time, 8 people cold calling in my office. If you don't manage those people, they will run amok. They will do whatever they want. I walked in one time to a couple. I had probably about 60-40, maybe 70-30 women to men, so more women than men. I walked in one time. I had 2 callers talking, basically yelling into the phone, cursing at a potential client, a potential seller, because they got into some political spat. And I was like, what? First of all, no, not the right time or place. Second of all, why are you yelling at the client? Third of all, like, what the heck? What's going on here? And the floor manager had stepped out to use the bathroom. And this happened in 5 minutes. I mean, it just was like anarchy. So, that's why when people ask me, I find myself repeating myself a lot, because I really want to hammer the point home that, our virtual professionals are a true turnkey solution. They are trained and managed. And the key is managed, because anybody can train somebody. Most people don't do a great job, but that's a whole nother issue. But the management is the key. You have to be managing your virtual professional full time, just like anybody else in any other situation. I mean, when was the last time you got a job and they said, all right, go ahead and start. And, oh, by the way, you have no boss, you have no manager, that doesn't happen. So if the people are not properly managed, you're going to have essentially the same situation that brought you to hiring the VA in the first place, except now you have an extra expense. Now, listen, don't get me wrong. Most people are good, right? Most people want to do a good job. They want to do the right thing. They're not trying to like blindly steal from people or take advantage. However, if you don't train and manage people so that they understand the way you want things done and keep an eye on them, there's much less incentive for them to toe the line, for them to do the right thing. And so, what I have found is that if they're not fully managed they're gonna stray, right? They're going to deviate from the plan. And so so we focus heavily on the management aspect, because most of our clients are not managers. They don't want to be managers. They're real estate people. They want to be out looking at houses, buying supplies, doing rehabs, negotiating new deals, raising money, whatever the situation is. So, I think that there's a lot of guys out there who, for, I don't know, 10, 12, 15, $20 an hour, they'll give you possibly give you a managed solution. In a lot of cases, that's too much money. And then if you want to go the other route, like I said, pay $5, $6, $7 an hour, you're going to end up with you're going to end up with quality issues and ultimately a subpar agent. So yeah, it's I think that the management is crucial. Regarding your point about calling, I mean, that's really where my guys, cut their teeth, for lack of a better term. We started calling because, as I said earlier, we found the need. We know most people don't like to call. We had some great scripts from Brent Daniels, and I just thought it was a good place to start. And then, of course, from there it went into transaction coordination and social media management and all the other stuff that comes with business that, once again, is not a high-level task, is not the kind of thing that an owner should be focused on, because it's not, in most cases, it's not revenue generating, or it's such a small amount of revenue, again, doesn't make sense to focus on. So the cold calling is huge. And the thing about cold calling is, you got to manage people when you're managing your social media accounts and stuff like that. So cold calling, like, you really have to be on the ball. I mean, we're reviewing calls, on a weekly basis. We're working with these people, doing training on a weekly basis. They're working with the English tutor. It just goes on and on and on. There's so much that goes into it. Most people don't understand. Like, most people think that what I do is essentially go find some guy in, Latin America or someplace, the Philippines, and hire them for X, mark it up, and then hand it to them and say, see you later. And that couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, any of my clients will tell you what we do is we really go above and beyond. And then lastly, you'd ask about data. We are a reseller for a handful of large data companies. We do have the ability to provide data. A lot of people, we have a resource page on our website. A lot of people, I just tell them, go to the resource page. You'll find a link to PropStream. Sign up for PropStream. That's a great source, very, very inexpensive. But we can provide some specialty lists. And frankly, in a lot of cases, I say to people, your local county or municipality probably provides data that you can utilize anyway. So do yourself a favor and don't pay for it. One of the areas where we are extremely competitive, however, is skip tracing. So, it's gotten to the point where everybody and their brother is doing skip tracing. The problem is that most of them are hooked up with like the Intellius or, one of these like $20 a month operations. And they basically just use all public databases, believe it or not, like magazine subscriptions, things like that, to get data. And it's really poor quality. We are hooked up with 3 different major skip tracing providers, and we have a reseller relationship with them. So 9 times out of 10, depending on volume, we're in that 20-cent range. And, and this is high quality tier 1 data. It's the best there is, and we're very competitive there. So, people can bring their own list. We can skip trace it. They can bring all the data all together, or we can provide a true turnkey solution, the caller, the data, the whole deal. And we'll do data without, you don't have to be a virtual, VA client per se, to buy data. I mean, I routinely have calls with people. I just, I help them. I spend an hour on the phone with somebody talking just to help them. I mean, I do that all the time. I just gave a guy I spent almost $1,200 on my agreement of sale. And I just gave it away to some guy yesterday just because, he's a nice guy. I wanted to help him. So I routinely do stuff like that.
Definitely does. Sarah, and Max is rocking and rolling with callingreps.com. I'm on the site here where you could schedule a one-on-one call. with Max and or his team. And he's got Brent Daniels and TTP students just starting to rock and roll. So this is definitely a good time to catch Max's company reps here as they're just kind of like in the beginning phase, like scaling up. I always think that's a good time to catch a company there. One just small point on, hiring somebody off Fiverr or Upwork versus a turnkey trained and managed solution like Max has is that same thing, kind of relating to the surge analogy. You're just like always being aware of what your time's worth. It may be $4, $5, $6 to hire a VA off of Upwork, Fiverr, whatever, but that's not what the net cost is to you, because your team, or creating the systems and processes for training and management is going to cost you more money, because it's not just paying them $4 an hour and then just plugging them into a solution. So your net cost is going to be higher because you, in some form or fashion, has to actually go in and train and manage those people. So just one thing to consider when you're kind of looking at all the different tiers that Max laid out, where it's like a fully trained and managed solution versus like partially outsourced versus logging into a VA site yourself and doing the interviews, vetting them out, training them, hoping they stick around long enough where the turnover doesn't hurt you, everything like that. So just one small point to consider. Do you want to go into, Max? I appreciate all the perspective and insight. I'm even learning some good points here. But do you want to go into, just to kind of finish this out, any final insight, and then what it would look like for getting started with reps?
Yeah. Look, you and I have known each other a while now. I've come down to Baltimore a few times to see you, and we always enjoy hanging out, man. So definitely. I could certainly sit here all morning and rap with you.
Definitely.
And I appreciate you having me. As far as real estate project solutions, again, callingreps.com goes. I think that everybody should understand that having a virtual professional will absolutely help your business. Whether you come to us, whether you do choose to go on, Upwork or Fiverr or any of these other sites that we've mentioned, or, you figured out a way to, find somebody here in the States to work at a reasonable rate and you go that route. I mean, no matter how you do it, technology, especially in the wake of this pandemic, is forcing people online and to use technology in a way that I don't think we've seen ever before. It's almost like a second wave, right? So you had the early adopters and all the people who really got involved, with technology in the 90s, the early 2000s. And, I remember, like taking courses online was totally foreign when I was in undergrad. A few years later, when I went and did grad school, it was kind of starting to happen. But now, I mean, I'm reading in the newspaper, Wall Street Journal and things, they're talking about, I think it's Harvard or one of them, having their entire semester next semester, the end of the year, online completely. Wow. So my point is, I think there's a huge shift towards technology and online. And I think that utilizing the technology allows us to ultimately engage people from a distance and in a lot of ways, reduce overhead or get a higher quality individual, or, find somebody that maybe you live remotely and, your closest web guy is, 50 miles away. What are you going to do? Drive back and forth 50 miles to get a website done? I mean, that's crazy. So, that's a pretty simplistic example, but, you get the point. I think that everybody should look at VAs. I think that everybody should look at VAs strongly. I have a tough time advocating that you fire all your in-house employees and go virtual. Just because I don't want to see anybody, I don't want to see anybody lose a job. But I do think that, increasing your team, adding to your team, I think that you have to take a good, strong look at virtual professionals. And, especially on the calling side, I think that it's very difficult. Frankly, I think it's very difficult for anybody who's calling to compete with us on from a value standpoint. Okay. Anybody could hire a bunch of, I don't know, six-figure, what did the Wolf of Wall Street say? Telephone terrorists. Anybody could hire a bunch of killers at six figures and put them on the phone, but that's not realistic. From a pure value standpoint, I don't think anybody can beat what my team offers, and that's again, that runs the gamut. I mean, that's even something like transaction coordination. You don't need a physical body in the office to transact business. And if you're doing business virtually, like I'm starting to see that more and more. I would say 50% of my clients are doing business virtually, which is, to me, is just mind-boggling, because I have to go and see the property and put my eyes on it. But these guys are making small fortunes virtually. Well, if you're doing business virtually, why would I hire someone in my office in Philadelphia to be a transaction coordinator when I could hire somebody who's probably better and less expensive to do deals that I'm never going to see or nowhere near my office anyway? I mean, what's the difference? So,
100%.
So I think that people really should take a long, hard look at it. And, again, whether they want to call us or somebody else, I mean, it's, there's a lot of value in virtual professionals.
Yeah, dude. Very, very, very well said from a genuine dude that just is a go-giver and loves to help people and has been doing it so long in his own business. As I've said a couple times, like, we jammed just on this whole topic over the last 3 years or so when we touched base.
Yeah, we sure did.
But what's the best place to reach in, guys? I'm going to put everything in the show notes here once I get all the info for Max. What's the best place to reach out? Just scheduling a call on callingreps.com.
Yeah, so if somebody goes to callingreps.com, they can fill out, it's just a real quick short form, fill it out. Either myself or one of my guys will reach out, schedule a call. That's definitely the easiest way to do it. Aside from that, you can email us. I did give out my cell phone at one point, which got a little bit hectic. Just because I can't offer people the kind of service that I want to offer them when I'm like on the road or something like that. People are calling me, but yeah, that's going to the website's the easiest way to do it. Check us out. Schedule a call. I'd say 50% of the time they're going to get me, and we can talk candidly. I mean, I'm not, we don't do high pressure. If somebody wants to work with us, that's awesome. We'd love to have you. If somebody just wants to kind of pick my brain and then make a decision or maybe go in another direction, that's fine too. The thing with us is we have some extra capacity, right? There is a limit at which, because of the way we do things, again, with the training and management, it just doesn't make sense in terms of numbers. And so, we're at a point now where we have some additional capacity. We could certainly take some additional clients, but we can't help everybody. And I want to work with people who are serious about their business, who want to work with us, frankly, and who are cool. I don't want to offer, I don't want to spend my time helping somebody or working with somebody who, who's no fun to work with.
Yeah.
So
totally. Same here.
I do have an offer that I put together for the InvestorFuse community. If you want me to run through that real quick.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So first things first, and I didn't mention this before, but we have the clients, purchase their own dialer system, and you can go right on our resources page and see we use Call Tools. I do not get paid by them. I don't have an affiliate relationship with them, but I did negotiate some special pricing. So if you go through our website, you can get a pretty big discount. And then I don't require it, but I really do recommend that everybody use InvestorFuse. And that's not just because I'm on your podcast, man. I really do like InvestorFuse. I became a lifetime member. So, as they say, you put your money where your mouth is. I think that speaks volumes about how I feel about InvestorFuse. And aside from that, you need data, whether we provide it or the client brings it. And basically the way we work is this. So we have a $9.95 setup fee because, again, we do the background check, we do the medical clearance, the disc profile, the 2 weeks of training, all of that stuff. And then we also work to set up the client's call tools account. So all of that, $995. So for the InvestorFuse guys, I'm going to go ahead and waive that altogether. So the setup fee is $0. Our regular rate is $2,000. So we're going to discount that 10%, and then I just ask for a 3-month commitment in lieu of the setup fee. And and basically we're looking to work with people. We're looking to help people grow their business, and and we're looking to again bring on some additional clients. So I would say that anybody that has any interest, you fill out the form and we'll talk a little bit. If it's a fit, we move forward. If it's not a fit, I'm going to tell you. And we'll generate a lot of leads for your team.
Love it, dude. And I appreciate the wave setup fee for listeners. So guys, check out the show notes. I'll have everything you guys need in there. And even if you're not about to hop into it, I think Max is definitely plentiful of information all around this subject, and just a good guy to have in your network in general. So I'll say set up a call regardless, even if, maybe you're looking to do something like this or add this type of expense to or investment into your business. Maybe it's not going to be for 3 to 6 months, but at least having this opening phone call will give you some direction on anything VA, admin, hiring, stuff like that. I think would be a very good use of your time there.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I always appreciate the time, Carlos, and the opportunity. And obviously, it's always fun to talk with you. And as you said, hopefully next time we're either at your place or if you're up this way. But either way, we're doing it face to face.
100%, dude. 100%. Well, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Definitely check the show notes just to touch base with Max, say what's up, see if you can optimize some of your admin VA type tasks and objectives. Put that surgeon outfit on and start spending time in your highest revenue generating activities. Have a great day, guys, and thanks for checking out the episode.